Tonight, let us begin in the kind of quiet that feels like a soft hand placed over the heart. Not the loud quiet of an empty street where your thoughts echo too sharply, but the gentle quiet that arrives when you finally stop trying to fix the day, when the room around you is dim, when the body remembers it can be held by a mattress, by a pillow, by the simple gravity of rest. Take a slow breath in, and as you breathe out, imagine something even older than your busiest worry. Something that has been resting so long it no longer needs to prove anything. Is your mind running fast today, or has it started to slow down a bit if it is still running? That is okay. You do not need to chase it. Tonight we will simply walk beside it the way a river walks beside its own banks. Somewhere far away from your modern schedule, far from inboxes, or headlines and the bright little alarms of a phone, there is a figure who has been sleeping for more than 2,000 years. Not because of a curse, not because of fear, but because of tenderness. They call him the Bashiri mummy, the untouchable one. There are countless ancient tombs that have been opened, examined, and emptied, sometimes by scholars, sometimes by looters, sometimes by time itself. Yet this one remained wrapped, the way a careful hand once wrapped him, thread by thread, layer by layer, as if the world could be sewn gently closed around a fragile secret. And tonight, we will not tear that secret open. We will do something quieter. We will listen. Before we drift deeper into tonight's gentle journey, remember to subscribe to Ancient Sleep Story. Here, you'll always find peaceful stories that soothe the heart and quiet the mind. Where are you listening from tonight? Leave a comment. Your presence adds warmth to this quiet corner of the night. Now, imagine a museum at night. Not a crowded museum with restless footsteps and bright signs, just a museum after midnight, when the doors have long been locked, when the guards speak in whispers, when the air itself seems to move more slowly. The lights are low, warm points of gold, like tiny stars placed carefully along a corridor. The stone beneath your feet is cool, as if it remembers the shade of deep places. Your steps are gentle, and your shoulders loosen without needing permission. There is a particular kind of hush in a gallery of ancient Egypt. It is not only silence, it is layered silence, silence of linen, silence of sand, silence of carved limestone, silence of names pressed into stone so they would not disappear. And as you move through this hush, you can almost feel your own thoughts begin to settle like dust in a beam of lamplight. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. Maybe you remember the first time you stood in a quiet place and felt time widen. A church after service, a library aisle, a late-night kitchen when everyone else was asleep. That same widening is here too, between glass cases under dim lights, beside objects that were made by hands that never imagined your century. And we do not rush, we do not reveal things, we simply arrive. At the end of one corridor, there is a case that draws no attention with sparkle or gold. It draws attention the way a closed door draws attention, not with noise, but with the promise of stillness on the other side. Inside, lying with a composure that feels almost like a lullaby, is the mummy known as Bashiri. He is not displayed as a spectacle, he is displayed as a resting. The wrappings are intricate, so intricate that the eyes cannot take in the pattern all at once. Linen crosses linen, folds and tucks and tiny seams. The face is covered with a design that seems to echo a pyramid's geometry. Angles that feel precise but also strangely gentle, like someone traced them slowly with care. Standing here, you may notice a simple truth. the most powerful things are not always the things that shout. Sometimes, the most powerful thing is what has been left untouched. Long ago, there were many reasons people unwrapped mummies. Curiosity, study, greed, a desire to claim the past like a trophy. But Bashiri was spared, not because people were afraid of a supernatural punishment, but because they were afraid of causing harm that could never be undone. There is a golden rule among those who work with fragile history, something that sounds almost like a bedtime mantra. If you are not sure you can preserve it unchanged, do not touch it. How soothing that is when you think about it. How different from the way we often treat ourselves, pulling at our own thoughts, picking at our own worries, trying to unwrap every feeling until something breaks. Tonight, Bashiri offers a quieter lesson. Some things become clearer when they are treated gently. Some mysteries do not need to be solved to be meaningful. If you listen closely, you may hear the softest sounds, the low hum of a ventilation system, the tiny tick of a distant clock, the quiet shift of your own breathing. And in that small, steady rhythm, the story begins to settle into you. Bashiri likely lived during the Ptolemaic era, roughly 2,300 years ago. He was a man of ordinary height, human, not mythic, not larger than life. Someone who once walked beneath a sun that rose over the Nile the way it still rises today. Think of that river for a moment. Not as a fact on a map, but as a long, breathing presence. In the daytime it glitters, at night it becomes a ribbon of dark glass. Along its banks, palms lean toward the water, and the air carries the scent of silt and reeds. Somewhere, a boat creaks softly against its rope, and the night insects make their thin, persistent music. This is the world Bashiri belonged to. A world where people watched the sky and trusted the return of dawn. A world where a name could be a lifeline, a world where the boundary between life and death was not a cliff, but a shoreline, marked with rituals, prayers and careful hands. Here, in the museum, you cannot smell the river. You cannot hear the frogs in the reeds. But you can feel something similar. A sense that time is not an enemy, not a deadline, but a wide landscape you can walk through slowly. The case's label is simple. The facts are few. Even his name is uncertain. Some readings suggest it might be Pacheri, others something else, blurred by the long journey of letters through time. And yet, he is not anonymous in the way modern loneliness can feel. Because even without certainty, someone cared enough to wrap him with beauty. Someone believed he mattered. Someone took linen and patience and made a cocoon. It is easy, standing here, to imagine the original moment of wrapping. Not as a grim scene, not as a horror, but as a quiet, reverent craft. A room lit by oil lamps. Shadows soft on the walls. Hands moving slowly, as if every movement should be kind. The linen is dry and clean, smelling faintly of plants and sun. The air is warm. Outside, the desert holds its breath, and layer by layer, the world becomes quieter. If your shoulders are still carrying the day, let them lower a little now. If your jaw is clenched, let it loosen. If your thoughts are lined up like tasks, let them unhook, one by one. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. In the modern age, we have learned how to see without tearing. X-rays, CT scans. Patient images built from slices of light, like moonlight passing through linen. These tools can suggest what is inside a sealed silence. They can hint at bones and amulets and hidden patterns without breaking the spell of preservation. And when researchers looked at Bashiri this way, they learned small, tender truths. his approximate time, his human proportions, the possibility of a name, still shy, still half-hidden, but present. A soft discovery, not a shout, not a shock. Just a gentle hello from across centuries. If you think about it, that is all we truly need from the past. Not fireworks, just a few quiet details that help us remember that people were people, even then, breathing, hoping, fearing, loving, growing tired. At the end of long days, as you stand beside Bashiri, you may feel your own curiosity rise. It is natural. It is human. But tonight, we will practice a different kind of curiosity, the kind that does not grab, the kind that watches from a respectful distance, the kind that says, you may keep your sleep. Because this story is not about opening a mummy. It is about what it means to keep something safe. And that is where the journey gently begins. Beyond this gallery, in the imagined geography of our night, there are other places that share this same sacred hush. Abydos, where pilgrims once walked in devotion, deep stone corridors where granite rests like a mountain dreaming, quiet names carved in walls to keep a soul from being lost. We go there, but for now, let your attention stay here, in this dim museum light, with this untouchable sleep. Somewhere a guard's radio crackles once, then fades. The glass reflects your face for a moment, blending you with the ancient linen. It feels like time is saying, you belong here too, in this shared quiet, breathing at your own pace tonight. Let the pattern on the linen become a slow, calming maze for your eyes. Let the silence teach your nervous system that nothing needs to be solved right now. And when you are ready, we will step very softly into the deeper corridors of time. Now that your eyes have rested for a while on Bashiri's careful wrappings, imagine that the museum itself begins to soften around you. Not as if you are leaving in a hurry, but as if the night invites you to step through a doorway made of calm. The glass case stays behind, still and safe. The warm lamps remain like tiny planets on the corridor walls. And yet in your mind, the air changes, becoming wider, drier, touched by an ancient wind. If you like, take one more slow breath, in and out. And as you exhale, let the world of Egypt come closer. Not the Egypt of postcards, but the Egypt of quiet distances, where sand carries history, the way a blanket carries warmth. We begin with a place that feels like a whispered name, Luxor, not loud, not hurried. Luxor, where stone holds the day's heat and releases it slowly at night, like a patient lantern, where the horizon is simple and the sky can feel endlessly tall. In the daytime, the sun there can be bright and direct. But tonight, we are not walking in the sharp noon. Tonight is the hour of soft edges, the hour when the desert cools and the light turns honey gold, then fades into indigo. The hour when you can finally hear the quieter sounds, a far-off dog barking once, then stopping, the gentle rasp of wind over dry ground, the faint clink of a rope against wood near the river, and somewhere beyond the city's calm there is a valley that seems to fold the world inward, the Valley of the Kings. Even the name moves slowly, Valley of the Kings. It is a landscape made of limestone and shadow, carved by time into slopes and ridges that look like sleeping waves. During the day, people arrive with cameras and questions, but at night, at least in our story, the valley belongs to something older, the cool breath of rock, the wide hush of the stars, the deep patience of sealed corridors. Imagine you are walking there now, not alone, not afraid, just accompanied by the steady rhythm of your own steps and the sense that you are being guided by gentleness itself. Your hand does not touch the walls you do not need to touch. You simply pass by, close enough to feel the coolness that rises from stone like a quiet comfort. Along the valley floor there are entrances, small, modest openings that lead into long passages. Some are guarded in the modern world, some are marked with signs, some are hidden beneath layers of sand and time. And yet, as you stand in this imagined night, you can feel a truth that does not depend on any sign. These places were made for stillness. Not the stillness of emptiness, but the stillness of intention. The ancient Egyptians believed that death was not the end of belonging. It was a crossing, a journey that needed maps, not the kind drawn on paper, but the kind carved into walls and spoken in prayers. In torchlit corridors, artists painted texts like protective songs, guiding the spirit through darkness and into light again. If you've ever felt lost inside your own thoughts at night, you may understand why those painted corridors mattered. Maybe you have had evenings when your mind kept turning, trying to find its way back to safety. Tonight, this story offers you a different corridor, not one that demands you solve anything, just one that invites you to walk slowly until the nervous system remembers. There is time and there is shelter, and you do not have to be vigilant anymore. Now, there is another place we must visit, and it feels different. If the Valley of the Kings is a quiet shelter of stone, Abydos is a quiet shelter of meaning. Abydos lies north of Luxor, away from the city's bustle, closer to a kind of spiritual horizon. It was considered sacred, tied to Osiris, the god associated with death and renewal, with the promise that life can return after darkness. But please, do not picture anything frightening. Picture pilgrimage. Picture people walking slowly across sand in the early morning, carrying small offerings, listening to the soft scuff of their own feet. Picture them arriving not in excitement, but in reverence, like someone entering a room where a loved one sleeps. Abydos, in our story, becomes a thin place, a place where the boundary between worlds is not a wall, but a veil, and you do not have to push through the veil. You only have to feel its presence, the way you feel the presence of memory when a certain smell, rain on pavement, warm bread, a familiar perfume, brings an old moment back to you. Have you ever been surprised by a memory that arrived without effort? If so, you already know what a thin place feels like. Here, the air is dry and clear, but the feeling is soft. Temples and tombs, broken stones and standing columns offer their silhouettes under starlight. Hieroglyphs, those small, precise pictures, remain etched into surfaces as if the rock itself decided to remember. And among the many ideas the Egyptians carried, there is one that glows like a gentle ember, the power of a name. To be named was to be held. To have your name spoken was to continue existing in a human way. They had a word for this enduring name, Ren. It was not vanity. It was not noise. It was a quiet form of protection, like stitching your identity into the fabric of time. And suddenly Bashiri feels closer again, because even if his exact name is uncertain to us now, the intention is clear. Someone wanted him to remain. Someone wanted him not to drift away. The linen that wraps him is like a promise. You will not be forgotten easily. In a way, that promise can reach you too, because many people listening tonight carry a hidden fear of being unseen. Maybe you have done so much for others that no one quite notices how tired you are. Maybe you have spoken less about your own needs because it felt safer that way. If that is true, let this story say something simple to you. You are here, you are real, and you deserve rest. Now return with me softly to the materials of this world. Sand, stone, linen, carved signs. These are not just objects, they are textures your mind can rest on. the way the eyes rest on a horizon. Imagine sand first. It does not rush. It shifts grain by grain, following wind the way a sleepy body follows gravity into a pillow. Sand remembers footsteps for a moment, then lets them go. It covers, it protects, it smooths sharp edges. In the story of Egypt, sand is not only a desert, it is a gentle keeper of time. Then stone. Cool, steady, slow to change. If you touch stone briefly, it can feel like a small shock of cold, but if you stay near it long enough, it becomes familiar, like the calm presence of someone who doesn't need to talk to make you feel safe. Then linen. Dry, soft, layered. Linen is the texture of care. It is the texture of hands that took time. It is the texture of wrapping something precious, not to hide it in shame, but to shelter it in tenderness. And finally, the carvings. Names and signs pressed into walls. They are like whispers that do not fade. As you drift through these textures, notice how your mind responds. The brain loves something it can hold gently. A simple image, a repeated rhythm, a quiet pattern. This is why the ancient world can be soothing when it is told slowly, because it offers patterns that do not demand quick decisions. Now let the night deepen. The sky above Luxor darkens into a velvet blue. Stars appear, not rushed, not blinking for attention, simply present. The desert cools and the air becomes clearer, as if the world is exhaling. And somewhere, far beyond your own bedroom walls, the Nile continues to move. Not fast, not slow, just faithful. It has moved through dynasties and empires, through joy and loss, through prayers and silence. It has carried boats and stories and reflections of moonlight for longer than any single worry has lived. If your day felt heavy, you might like to imagine your thoughts as little boats on that river. You do not need to steer them perfectly. You can let them drift. Let your eyelids soften even if they are still open. Let the muscles around your eyes relax. Notice the tiny pause after each exhale. In that pause, the night becomes wider and the heart quiets, because tonight is not about control. Tonight is about being carried. In the distance, near Abydos, a temple doorway stands like a dark rectangle against faint starlight. Within it, the air is cooler. The stone smells faintly of dust and night. A bat might flicker past the entrance, silent as a thought. And inside, just inside, there is a corridor where old inscriptions wait in the dark. Not to frighten you, to guide you, to remind you that even in places where the sun does not reach, humans once believed in a gentle continuation. And now, as your breathing becomes slower, as your eyes grow heavier, story places a small seed of curiosity in your palm. Not a heavy question, just a soft one. What if the greatest discovery is not what we open, but what we learn to leave whole? In the next part, we will begin our gentle journey inward, following corridors and echoes, moving from Bashiri's linen cocoon toward deeper chambers of time. But for now, stay with the night air. Stay with the sand and stone. Stay with the feeling that you are allowed to move slowly. And if you are listening in bed, let your body become heavier with every sentence, as if the earth itself is holding you with kindness. You are safe here. You are not alone. And the past, in all its quiet patience, is ready to walk beside you. Let us take the next step, the way you might step deeper into sleep, without effort, without suddenness, simply allowing the night to carry you forward. We are still in Egypt, still under that wide and patient sky, but now the story turns gently inward, toward passages where daylight is only a memory and where the air stays cool, as if the earth itself is keeping a promise of rest. In your mind, you are walking slowly, You do not need to picture every detail perfectly. If an image arrives, let it arrive. If it fades, let it fade. The voice will keep holding the thread for you. Ahead, there is an entrance. Not a dramatic opening, not a jagged mouth in the rock. Just a modest doorway, a lowered threshold, a place that asks you to bow your head, slightly, the way you might bow in a quiet room out of respect. And as you cross it, you feel the temperature change. Outside, the night air was cool. Inside, the coolness is different, deeper, steadier, more protective. It wraps around you like stone-shaped silence, like a heavy blanket that does not press down, but simply says, "You can stop bracing now." This is how many ancient places feel. Not frightening, grounding. If the day made you feel scattered, this kind of space gathers you back into one gentle point. The corridor is long, your footsteps are soft, and the sound does not travel far. Even echoes seem sleepy here, as if they choose to stay close instead of running away. Along the walls, you can imagine faint marks, carvings, symbols, traces of hands that once moved through the same darkness. In their world, darkness was not only an absence, it was a stage for guidance, a place where protective words could glow in torchlight, and where a name could be held safely inside stone. If you want, ask yourself a small, calming question. What would it feel like to be guided instead of pushed? Let that question sit beside you like a quiet companion. In the distance, somewhere in modern history, there were moments when people entered tombs with loud excitement. You may have heard names, Howard Carter and others, like footsteps in a hallway far away. But in this story, those footsteps are only a faint memory, a soft reminder that many doors have been opened. Tonight, we are not opening. We are walking, and we are learning the art of leaving things whole. The corridor leads you to a place that feels almost like a dream within a dream. A subterranean passage, a long gallery of cool air. A hush so complete it feels like it has its own texture. This place is sometimes called the Serapeum, a deep complex associated with sacred burials, where immense stone sarcophagi were placed in silence like sleeping mountains. Do not worry about the dates. Do not worry about the arguments historians have debated. Let it be simply a place where stone learned to be gentle. Here, the walls are darker. The floor is smooth in places, rough in others, as if time itself has been polishing it with patient footsteps. And in alcoves and chambers, there are great shapes, massive lids, heavy forms, granite blocks that look as if they could never have been moved, and yet they were. But we will not let that thought sharpen your mind into calculation. We will not count weights. We will not measure. We will only notice the feeling, the sense of something enormous choosing stillness. It is strangely comforting, isn't it? In one chamber, a small lamp hangs from a hook, its flame imagined rather than real, because this is a museum night dream and we are free to soften anything. The light does not leap, it trembles, painting slow shadows that move like water along the walls. Dust drifts through the beam, turning the air into a quiet snowfall of history. When you inhale, you can almost taste dryness, chalky limestone, old linen, the faint mineral scent of stone that has waited a long time. When you exhale, the corridor seems to exhale back, as if the earth is breathing with you. If your mind tries to hurry, let it notice this steady exchange, in and out. Nothing to fix, just presence. Just a soft companionship between your breath and the ancient dark. Somewhere above, the desert wind slides across the surface, but down here it becomes only a memory, like distant ocean noise would be, and you realize you can be quiet without disappearing, for a while, safely, tonight. To be near something that does not hurry. To be near something that does not explain itself. To be near something that simply rests. If your thoughts are busy tonight, imagine placing them one by one on the cool stone beside these sleeping forms. Not to abandon them, just to let them rest too. A worry about tomorrow, a replay of a conversation, a small regret, a question you keep turning over. Set each one down gently, as if you were placing a folded cloth on a shelf. You can pick them up later if you need to, but for now you are allowed to be unburdened. In places like this, you begin to understand why Bashiri's untouched wrappings feel so meaningful. The ancient world did not always chase the inside of things. Sometimes it honored the boundary. Sometimes it said, the shell is part of the story, the covering is part of the care. And perhaps in your own life, there are coverings too, habits, routines, small rituals before bed that are not obstacles but protection. A glass of water, a dim lamp, a familiar blanket, a quiet video playing low. These are your wrappings in a way, small layers that tell your nervous system it is safe to be held. Now let the story lift you back toward the surface for a moment like a slow tide. Imagine a different scene, a simple burial in the sand, no stone corridor, no carved hall, just the desert's warmth and dryness, the steady sun, the patient wind. Long ago, before embalming was perfected, there were bodies that the sand itself preserved. One of the most famous is often called Ginger, named for the reddish hair found on his head. Protected by the desert's dry embrace. Again, no disturbing images. Just the idea that nature sometimes keeps what it can quietly, without chemicals, without human fuss. As if the desert said, I will hold this for you. There is something tender about that. When life feels complicated, it can be soothing to remember that some forms of preservation are simple. Dry air, warm sand, time doing its slow work. You might even notice how your breathing matches that slowness in and out, and in the pause between a small settling. Now return again to Bashiri. Back to the museum, back to the case, back to the linen pattern that looks like careful geometry. He is far from the desert now, separated by centuries and glass, and yet the same principle surrounds him. Protection through patience. We do not know everything about him. We may never know everything, but perhaps that is not a loss. Perhaps it is a kind of gift, because it means we can practice the gentle curiosity that does not demand. We can let the unknown remain like a closed flower at night, real, present, and not required to bloom on command. And still, the modern world has found ways to greet him softly. Light that sees through linen without tearing it. Images that suggest the shape of bone and the placement of amulets without breaking the cocoon. A quiet hello and then a respectful step back. If you are someone who has spent years being strong, you may feel tired of being opened by life, examined, questioned, required to explain yourself. Tonight, let Bashiri show you another way. You are allowed to be whole. You are allowed to be private. You are allowed to be preserved by kindness. If that sentence lands gently in you, let it land. If it does not, let it pass like wind over sand. Now we continue the journey in the simplest way by following a name, Ren. The ancient belief that a name is not merely a label but a thread of existence. When the name endures, something of the person endures with it. In Abydos, pilgrims once came to speak names and to be near the mystery of renewal. In tombs, names were carved so they could be read again, spoken again, kept warm by human attention. This is why the uncertainty around Bashiri's name feels so poignant. It is like a lantern seen through fog, still there, still glowing, but softened. And maybe tonight the story offers you a gentle practice. Say your own name silently, the way you might whisper it to yourself with compassion. Not as a demand, as a reminder. I am here. I belong to this moment. I am allowed to rest. Let those words settle like fine dust. Now the night sky returns. Above the desert, the stars do not flicker in panic. They simply keep their places. The moon, if it is present, moves with slow certainty, painting pale silver along the ridges of stone. And here comes the soft seed of curiosity again, the mending stitch at the end of this part. What if the greatest treasure of ancient Egypt is not the gold, not the secrets, not the open chambers, but the quiet ethic of preservation? What if the most powerful act is sometimes the act of not touching, of letting something remain intact, letting sleep remain sleep? In the next part, we will follow that ethic into a single, beautiful discovery. The way light can reveal without harming, and the way a name can survive like a breath held gently in stone. For now, let your body sink heavier. Let the shoulders drop. Let the jaw unclench. And if your mind wanders, let it wander slowly, like a boat on the Nile at night, guided by the soft reflection of stars. You are doing enough. You have done enough, and the night is still with you. Some stories in the modern world begin with a sudden opening. A door thrown wide, a seal snapped, a lid lifted. But tonight we are learning a different kind of beginning, one that feels more like moonlight than like a hand. So as your breathing becomes slower, imagine the scene changing again, as softly as a candle dimming. We leave the deep corridors of stone, not by climbing or effort, but by drifting, by letting the mind float upward like a feather carried on warm air. And now we arrive in a room that is quiet in a different way. Not ancient quiet, modern quiet. A calm, clinical hush where people speak gently because they know they are near something fragile. The room is cool and the light is low. There are no bright spotlights, no harsh glare. Everything is softened, as if even the electricity has learned respect. In the center is a table. Beside it, instruments that do not cut, do not pry, do not force. They simply look. A soft hum fills the air, steady, patient, almost like distant rain. This is where the modern world learned a beautiful skill: to see without breaking. If you have ever wished you could understand something without hurting it, this room will feel like a kind of mercy. Here, an X-ray becomes a gentle lantern. A CT scan becomes a slow, careful song of light, circling, collecting, assembling a picture the way memory assembles a dream, piece by piece, without ripping the dream apart. And somewhere in that gentle light, Bashiri rests, still wrapped, still intact, still allowed to keep his long sleep. For a moment, picture his linen again. The delicate crossings, the tiny seams, the patterned face cover that echoes the calm geometry of a pyramid. It is easy to forget in a world that loves speed that this was made by hands, hands that did not scroll, hands that did not rush, hands that knew how to repeat a motion until it became a blessing. Now the gentle machines begin their work, not with drama, with patience. Light passes through the wrappings like a whisper. In the circular mouth of the scanner, there is a ring, smooth, pale, almost like a modern halo. It does not feel threatening. It feels like a doorway made of quiet geometry. The table glides with careful slowness, and the hum deepens into a steady tone, like a distant ship moving through fog. For a few minutes, time becomes simple. Light, movement, stillness, breath. Technicians watch the screens the way astronomers watch a night sky. Patient, attentive, knowing that forcing meaning too quickly only distorts it. The images arrive as gentle slices, like pages of a book that never has to be torn. In one view, ribs arc like reeds by the river. In another, the skull is simply a human shelter for thought. And through every view, the linen remains unbroken, holding its pattern like a promise. Even the room seems to breathe more slowly. No one speaks louder than necessary. If you stood there, you might feel your chest matching the machine's rhythm, borrowing steadiness from it and letting thoughts soften into quiet. And instead of tearing the past open, the images simply suggest what is there: the curve of bone, the quiet architecture of a human body, the small signs of age, the outline of what time has kept. No one shouts, no one celebrates. They simply nod quietly, as if they are greeting a person, not a specimen. And if you listen closely, you might hear the deeper message underneath all this careful science. We can be curious without being violent. We can learn without taking. We can see without owning. Let that settle in you for a moment, because it is not only a lesson for museums, it is also a lesson for hearts. How often have you tried to figure yourself out in a way that felt like tearing? How often have you demanded an answer from your own feelings at midnight, as if the mind must confess before you can sleep? Tonight, imagine treating your thoughts the way this room treats Bashiri, with gentle light, with patient attention, with a promise not to break what you are trying to understand. If your mind is still running fast, try this. On your next inhale, imagine a soft beam of light moving across your forehead, smoothing the muscles there. On your exhale, imagine it sliding down to your jaw, loosening the hinge. On the next breath, let it warm your shoulders, and then your chest, and then your stomach, until the whole body feels seen but not pushed, seen but not judged, seen and allowed to rest. Now the story carries us back across the desert again, because the ancient world too had its own kind of gentle illumination. Not with machines, with myth, with names, with the belief that certain presences could stand beside you in the dark. In the temples and tombs of Egypt, two figures often appear like quiet guardians at the edge of sleep: Isis and Nephthys. Do not imagine them as distant, thunderous gods. Imagine them as two protectors who understand grief, patience, and the long work of love. Isis, often linked with care and restoration. Nephthys, often linked with the night, the threshold, the hush that comes after tears. In many depictions, they stand near the body of Osiris, one at the head, one at the feet, as if saying wordlessly, "You may pass through the dark. You will not do it alone." And even if you do not hold these myths as literal truth, you can still let them work the way poetry works, as comfort, as symbolism, as a soft hand on the shoulder of the nervous system. Tonight, if you have felt alone with your thoughts, let Isis and Nephthys become a gentle image for you, not to watch you, to guard you. Two quiet presences at the edge of your sleep, like twin lamps, dim and warm. You do not need to earn their protection. You do not need to explain yourself. You only need to let your body believe, for a few minutes, that it is safe. And now, the story offers another gentle discovery. One that is not found by opening a wrapper or lifting a lid, but by noticing a space where something is missing. In Abydos, there are places where the carvings are lavish, the stonework careful, the intention obvious, and yet the name is absent. An unnamed royal tomb, a beautifully prepared silence, a gap where a title should be, a blank that refuses to be filled. At first, the mind may want to solve it. Who was it? Why is the name missing? Was it erased? But notice how the night invites a different response. Instead of solving, we can simply sit with the blank. A blank can be soothing. A blank can be permission. Because blanks remind us we do not need to know everything to be close to what is real. Sometimes the truest part of a story is the pause, the unsaid, the untouched. Think of your own life. There are parts of your past you might not be able to name clearly anymore. Moments softened by time, faces that blur at the edges, feelings that can't be described without losing their tenderness. Those are your unnamed rooms, and they are still yours. They still matter. They are still held inside you, quietly, without needing to be explained. The ancient Egyptians understood that explanation is not the only form of meaning. As they built meaning into repetition, into ritual, into carved patterns that could be traced by a fingertip, they built meaning into the endurance of a name, Ren, the name that keeps you from being lost. And when we return to Bashiri, we return to this poignant truth. His name is not fully certain to us, but his existence is undeniable. His wrappings say, someone cared. His untouched rest says, someone respected. His continued silence says, the past is not a toy. And in the modern scan, the gentle light says, we can honor that. We can let a mystery remain a mystery while still letting it warm us. Here is the soft twist of tonight's journey. The miracle is not what we open. The miracle is what we choose to leave intact. In a world that constantly asks you to reveal more productivity, more proof, more explanation, there is something radically kind about restraint, about saying, this is enough, about letting the night stay dark instead of flooding it with harsh light, about letting the heart be quiet instead of interrogating it. So, as we near the end of this part, let the pace slow even further. Imagine you are back in the museum corridor again. The lamps are small, the shadows are long. Your footsteps are barely a sound. Bashiri is behind glass, still wrapped, still sleeping. And somewhere beyond the walls, the desert lies under stars, and the Nile moves like a calm, dark ribbon. If you would like, ask yourself one last gentle question. What is one thing in your life you can stop opening tonight? A worry you can leave sealed, a conversation you can let rest, a plan you can postpone until morning. You do not have to solve it now. You can preserve yourself. Just as Bashiri was preserved by careful hands, you can be preserved by your own gentleness. If this story brought you calm, leave a gentle comment for yourself. And as you breathe out, imagine Isis at the head of your bed, Nephthys at the foot, two quiet guardians of night holding the corners of your sleep like linen held at the edges. Nothing dramatic, only safety, only hush, only the long, patient kindness of time. In the next part, we will follow the thread of Ren more deeply, how a name becomes a lantern and how memory can heal without keeping you awake. For now, let the light dim. Let the museum fade. Let the body sink. And let the night do what it has always done, gently, faithfully, carry you toward rest. Now let the story become even quieter. If part 4 felt like a room of gentle light, this part is like the moment after the light has dimmed, when the eyes no longer need to focus and the heart can listen instead. Imagine you are seated on a low stone step at the edge of Abydos. Night has fully arrived. The sky is dark velvet stitched with stars. The air is cool and dry, and the desert wind moves softly, like someone turning pages in a book you do not need to read tonight. Somewhere nearby, a temple wall rises out of the sand. In the faint starlight, you can see carvings, small pictures that are also words, and words that are also prayers. They are not shouting, they are simply staying. If your mind is still carrying today, you can set it down here for a moment, not forever, just for now. Is your mind running fast today, or has it started to slow down a bit? If it is running fast, let it run at the edge of the scene like a distant animal. You do not need to chase it. You do not need to trap it. You can let it circle, and eventually, with enough quiet, it will lie down on its own. In this sacred place, there is one idea that returns again and again, like the steady return of the Nile after every bend. Ren, the name. To the ancient Egyptians, a name was not only a label for convenience, it was a thread of being. It was a way the world could hold you, call you, recognize you across distance and time. If the name endured, something of you endured too. That is why names were carved into stone. That is why names were painted on coffins. That is why names were repeated in prayers. It was not a noisy kind of immortality. It was a gentle one. A person might not have gold, a person might not have statues, but if their name could be remembered even softly, even by one voice in the dark, then they were not entirely lost. There is a tenderness in that belief, isn't there? Because even now in your modern life, you may carry the same quiet longing without ever saying it out loud. Not the longing to be famous, not the longing to be praised, but the longing to be known in a human way. To be recognized, to feel that you matter to someone. Sometimes we try to fill that longing with speed, more work, more messages, more effort, more proving. And yet, the ancient world offers a slower answer. A name stays warm when it is held by kindness. Imagine for a moment a scribe in a dim room long ago. A small oil lamp burns its flame steady. The scribe dips a reed into ink and writes a name with care, each stroke deliberate, each curve a quiet promise. They do not write quickly, they write as if the act itself is a form of love. Perhaps that is what you need tonight. Not more solutions, but more love in the way you hold yourself. If you want, whisper your own name silently inside your mind. Say it once, gently, as if you are introducing yourself to the night, not with pressure, with softness. And then let the name be followed by a simple sentence. I am here. I am allowed to rest. Now bring Bashiri back into the story again, like a distant lamp returning in fog. We still do not fully know which name belongs to him with certainty. The readings are blurred, softened by time, as if the letters themselves have grown sleepy. But the intention remains. The wrappings, the careful geometry, the untouched stillness, all of it says, this person was meant to be carried forward, not discarded. Think how different that is from the way many of us treat ourselves. We discard the tired version of us. We scold the anxious version of us. We wish the lonely version of us would disappear. But what if instead you treated every version of yourself as part of your Ren, your enduring name, your continuity? The version that tries hard, the version that makes mistakes, the version that keeps going anyway, the version that is simply tired and wants a quiet corner. All of them belong. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. If you are listening in a busy American city, maybe you can hear distant traffic, a siren far away, the low hum of a building. Let those sounds become your modern Nile, moving, constant, not personal. And under them, let this story offer a deeper layer of quiet. In Abydos, the walls are full of names and titles, but there are also spaces where a name is missing, an absence carved into presence, a blank that refuses to be filled. At first, an absence can feel unsettling, The mind wants closure. The mind wants to label, but the night teaches something else. A blank can be a resting place. A blank says, you do not have to complete every thought. You do not have to answer every question. You do not have to finish every sentence tonight. There is a special peace in letting something remain unfinished. If you have been overthinking, you might feel your mind tugging at a problem, like fingers tugging at a loose thread. Tonight, imagine placing a tiny stitch there instead, not to solve the whole garment, but to keep it from unraveling in your sleep. The stitch is simple. Not now, tomorrow is enough. Now we return again to Isis and Nephthys, not as distant myths, but as a calm image of companionship. One at the head, one at the feet, one at the beginning of the night, one at the end. They do not demand, they do not judge, they simply keep watch so you can let go. If you like, picture them as two quiet nurses of the soul, tucking the corners of your blanket, smoothing the air around you, reminding your body that it does not need to stay on alert. Because the deepest fear behind the longing for Ren is not death. It is erasure. It is the fear that if you stop, if you rest, if you are not useful for a while, you will vanish from the world's attention. But notice how the ancient story answers that fear. They believed the name could survive through simple acts, a carved sign, a spoken word, a remembered kindness. In your own life, maybe your Ren is already being carried in small ways. A friend who thinks of you when they see a certain movie, a co-worker who trusts your steadiness, a family member who feels calmer when you are near, a child or a pet or a partner who recognizes your footsteps in the hallway and relaxes. You do not need a monument to be real. Sometimes all it takes is one heart remembering you with warmth. And if you feel alone tonight, let this channel be one small place where remembrance happens. You are not just a view count here. You are a person in a bed, in a room, on a night when you chose to seek calm. That choice matters. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. Now let the scene shift gently from Abydos to the Nile again, as if the camera of the mind is drifting, floating, gliding. The river at night is dark and smooth. It carries reflections like quiet secrets. The moon lays a pale path across it, and the reeds along the bank sway as if they are breathing. Imagine a small boat moving slowly, not powered by urgency, but by the soft insistence of a current. Someone sits in the boat, wrapped in cloth, watching the stars. No one is talking. The silence is friendly. This is the feeling we are building toward: friendly silence. A silence that does not mean loneliness, a silence that means safety. And now the soft discovery of this part arrives like a pebble placed gently in your palm, sometimes break. The most healing way to be remembered is not by being exposed, but by being protected. Bushiri was remembered by restraint, by the decision not to open, by the decision to preserve. What if you could remember yourself that way tonight? By choosing not to open every worry, by choosing not to replay every moment, by choosing to let some things remain wrapped until morning. On your next breath in, imagine you are wrapping your thoughts in linen, soft, clean, layered. On your breath out, imagine placing them in a safe place, a quiet shelf inside your chest. They will be there tomorrow if you need them, but tonight, you sleep. Somewhere back in the museum, the corridor lamps are still glowing, and the glass case still holds Bushiri the way a quiet night holds a sleeping house. You can imagine a curator making one last round, footsteps slow, keys barely chiming, pausing not to inspect, but to offer a wordless respect. In that pause, you might feel the simplest answers to the gentle questions of the night. Who is this story for? For the tired mind. What is it doing? Turning history into a lullaby. When is it happening? Right before sleep. Where are we? Between desert sand and a modern bedroom. Why does it help? Because being remembered can be soft. How does it work? By slowing everything down, one breath at a time, in the gentlest possible way. And as the story continues, we will move toward a wider sky, toward an ancient observatory where time becomes a slow shadow and the night becomes a friend you can trust. Let the past whisper and the body soften. For now, let your name rest in you like a warm ember. Let it glow without effort. Let it say gently, I am here. I am safe. I can sleep. Now the night opens wider. If you have been carrying the day like a bundle in your arms, let your fingers loosen. You do not need to hold so tightly anymore. The story is here, steady and quiet, and it will hold the thread for you. Imagine that we have left the corridors of stone and the temple walls of Abydos, and we are walking toward higher ground, toward a place where ancient people came not to hide from the sky, but to listen to it. A simple platform, a modest rooftop, a courtyard whose stones have cooled after sunset. Nothing dramatic, nothing sharp, just a place where you can look up. Above us, the desert sky is clear. Stars appear like gentle punctuation marks in a sentence that never ends. They do not rush. They do not blink for attention. They simply remain, each one a small, steady presence. And somewhere in the quiet of ancient Egypt, people watched those stars with the same mixture of wonder and calm that you might feel when you step outside after a long day and notice the moon hanging there, indifferent to your schedule. Tonight, we will visit an old kind of observatory. Not a modern dome with shining machinery, but a human place, a place shaped by patience, a place where time was measured not by alarms but by shadows and slow-moving light. Picture a stone marker in a courtyard, an upright post, simple and plain. When the sun rises, it casts a shadow across the ground. And as the day passes, that shadow travels almost too slowly to notice unless you stay long enough. This is one of the oldest truths. Time can be seen best when you stop moving. If your thoughts have been racing, you might like this idea. You do not have to chase time. You can watch it gently as it glides. In the early morning, the shadow is long and cool, stretching like a sleepy animal. By midday, it gathers itself closer to the stone, becoming small and crisp. In late afternoon, it lengthens again, reaching toward evening the way the mind reaches toward rest. You could sit beside that slow shadow and feel your body soften without needing to think about why. And in ancient Egypt, they did. They built ways to notice the day's rhythm. Sunlight across temple floors, the angle of a beam through a doorway, the position of stars returning to familiar places in the night. These were not only tools, they were rituals. They were reminders that life is made of cycles, not cliffs. Now imagine a person standing quietly in that courtyard long ago. Not a heroic figure, not a king, just someone with a calm job to keep watch, to notice, to remember. He wears light linen that moves with the breeze. His feet are bare or wrapped in simple sandals. The stones beneath him feel cool, and the air smells faintly of dust and night-blooming plants. He holds a simple instrument, a straight piece of wood, a plumb line, maybe a small sighting tool. But do not let this become technical in your mind. Think of it as a way of paying attention. He looks up, he looks down, he listens. And in that listening, the night becomes not a mystery to solve, but a lullaby to receive. If you have ever watched the second hand of a clock and felt impatient, this part of the story offers another experience, the experience of time moving at a pace the nervous system can trust, a shadow moving, a star returning, a breeze repeating itself. When you are tired, repetition is kind. Sometimes the watchers of night also listened to water. In a nearby room, sheltered from wind, there might be a simple vessel, stone or clay, where water dripped at a measured pace. Drop, then another drop, then another. The sound was small enough to disappear if you did not pay attention, and yet steady enough to calm the mind if you did. Not because you are counting, because you are consenting to rhythm. If your life has been built around numbers, deadlines, notifications, miles, minutes, imagine how it would feel to be guided by something softer, something that asks only for presence. Drop, and then quiet. Drop, and then quiet. You might notice that your own breath begins to match it. In and out. A gentle repeat, a kind of internal metronome that does not demand productivity, only peace. And if you are listening tonight from a busy apartment, a quiet house, a hotel room, or a couch where you finally let your shoulders fall, you can let those imagined drops become a small anchor. Every drop says, you are still here. Every pause says, you do not have to perform. In the temple complexes near Luxor, there were spaces designed so that sunlight would touch certain places at certain times. A beam would slide across carved stone, illuminating a symbol, then move on. It was like watching a quiet animal pass through tall grass, present for a moment, then gone, leaving only calm behind. Imagine that beam of light now. It enters a doorway at dawn, narrow and pale, then widens as the sun climbs. Dust in the air turns the beam into something visible, like a ribbon. The ribbon travels across the floor so slowly that you can breathe several full breaths before it reaches the next stone. In and out. You breathe and the light keeps moving, unbothered. Somewhere a bird calls once and falls silent. Somewhere a palm frond shifts with a dry sigh, and you begin to understand something that is both ancient and extremely modern. The world is not asking you to be faster than your own breath. If your mind tries to plan tomorrow, let it plan like starlight, distant, harmless, not urgent. You can tell yourself softly, yes, tomorrow exists and it will be there when I wake, but tonight is not tomorrow. Tonight is the space between. Some people think sleep must be earned, as if rest is a prize for finishing enough tasks. The ancient sky disagrees. It offers darkness to everyone, the same way it offers stars to everyone, quietly, without asking who deserves it. So if a small wave of worry rises, treat it the way the Nile was treated, something natural that comes and goes. You can watch it approach, feel it pass through your chest, and then feel it recede, leaving a calmer shoreline behind. And if you cannot sleep right away, that is still okay. You can rest in the act of resting. You can rest in stillness, in breath, in the slow companionship of this story. Now the sky deepens into full night. The courtyard is dark, but not threatening. Darkness here is simply a soft cloak. The stars become clearer, and the river below reflects faint points of light like scattered seeds. In ancient Egypt, the sky was a map of stories and seasons. Certain stars rose before dawn at certain times of year, signaling the return of the Nile's flood, the renewal of fields, the promise that dryness would not last forever. But tonight we will take that idea gently, like a warm cup held between both hands. The Nile rises, the Nile falls, anxieties rise, anxieties fall. Nothing stays at the peak forever. If today felt too full, remember that fullness passes. If you are in a dry season inside your heart, remember that renewal returns, often quietly, often without fanfare. Now let us connect this back to Bashiri. Think of him again, sleeping in his linen cocoon. 2,300 years is an almost unimaginable length of time. And yet, if you watch a shadow cross a courtyard, you realize how such time is made, not in leaps, but in small movements. A minute becomes an hour becomes a day becomes a year, a breath becomes a night. And if Bashiri could rest through centuries of sunrises, perhaps you can rest through one ordinary night. Not perfectly, not dramatically, just enough. Here is the soft discovery of this part. In the ancient world, time was not only counted, it was witnessed, it was felt in the body, in light, in seasonal return. It was treated as something you could accompany, not something that chased you. What would it be like to treat your own time that way? To let your evening be a slow shadow, not a sprint. To let your sleep be a cycle, not a test. If this story is helping you settle, allow your eyelids to grow heavier now. If they are already closed, let the muscles around them relax even more, as if you are smoothing linen. Your breath is enough. Your pace is enough. You do not have to catch up to anything tonight. Before we end this part, let the scene offer you one last image. A quiet observer stands in the courtyard, with Isis and Nephthys imagined as gentle presences, not as towering figures, but as two soft lamps at the edges of the space. One lamp near the doorway, one near the far wall. They do not move, they simply keep the night friendly. The observer looks up at the stars, then down at the shadow of the marker, then closes his eyes for a moment, as if trusting the sky to keep turning without his effort. And you can do the same. You can close your eyes if you want, and let the world keep turning. In the next part, we will return once more to the museum, to Bashiri's quiet case, and we will let the idea of preservation become a gentle reflection on your own life. The kindness of not forcing, the wisdom of leaving some things sealed, the peace of being remembered through simple goodness. For now, let the shadow lengthen, let the stars stay steady, let your breath become the only clock you need, and when you wake, you will carry only what matters: quiet strength, a softer heart, and the memory of stars tonight again. Somewhere between the wide sky and the cool corridors, we find ourselves returning to the museum again, as if the mind is drifting back to a familiar room in a dream. The doors are still closed to the world outside. The city is still sleeping. And inside, the air is the gentle kind of stillness that does not feel empty, only protected. If you are listening from a busy place tonight, you may still hear life around you, the distant hum of traffic, the soft click of a building settling, the occasional voice in a hallway. Let those sounds be like the Nile in the background, moving, steady, not demanding your attention. Under them, let this museum quiet deepen like a second layer of night. Imagine the corridor lights again, small, warm pools along the stone, not bright enough to wake you, only bright enough to guide you. Imagine the glass case where Bashiri rests and the way the linen patterns seem to hold their own slow rhythm, like waves that never break. When we began, there was a question hidden in the hook, whispered, rather than asked aloud: if a secret has slept for 2,300 years, does it need to be opened or only listened to? Tonight, the answer continues to unfold gently. In the modern world, we are taught to open everything. Open the email, open the calendar, open the news, open the next problem, the next worry, the next unfinished loop in the mind. And sometimes we open ourselves that way too, as if we must pull apart every feeling, every memory, every fear, until we find a final, perfect explanation. But Bashiri lies here, wrapped, intact, undisturbed, and he offers a softer practice, The practice of stopping, of leaving something sealed, of letting sleep remain sleep. If you want, try a small experiment with your own thoughts right now. Notice one thought that keeps returning tonight. It might be a plan, it might be an argument you replay, it might be a worry about money, health, family, time. Just notice it without chasing it. And then imagine placing that thought into a tiny box made of linen, not a harsh box. A gentle one, like a small pouch sewn by careful hands. You are not throwing it away, you are preserving it. You are saying, not tonight. You are saying, I will return when the sun is up. You are saying, I am allowed to rest first. This is not avoidance, this is wisdom. Think of the way you put away fragile holiday decorations after the season ends. You wrap each glass ornament not because you want to hide it, but because you want it to survive. You choose tissue paper, you choose a box, you choose a quiet closet. And when you close the door, you do not feel loss. You feel relief because the delicate thing is safe. Tonight you can do the same with your mind. Not everything needs to be on display under bright mental lights. Some thoughts are too tender for midnight. Some questions are too sharp for the soft body of sleep. So you wrap them gently and you let them wait. You allow yourself the dignity of privacy. You allow yourself the warmth of being unfinished. And in that small act, the heart stops fighting the night. It begins to trust the dark the way the desert trusts the stars. Morning will bring clearer angles, but for now, you only need the simplest answer. Breathe and let go slowly, because there is a difference between ignoring something and giving it a safe place to wait. In preservation, the hands move slowly for a reason. They know that rushing causes cracks. They know that forcing causes tears. They know that curiosity without tenderness can become harm. And perhaps you have lived long enough to know the same. Maybe you have tried to fix things too quickly, only to feel them break. Maybe you have pressed for answers from someone you love, only to make them retreat. Maybe you have pressed for answers from yourself, only to feel your body tighten and your mind grow louder. Tonight, the museum teaches another way. It teaches restraint as care. If you are wondering who this story is for, it is for the person who carries too much. If you are wondering what we are doing, we are letting history become a lullaby. If you are wondering when this matters, it matters right before sleep, when the mind is most tender. If you are wondering where we are standing in a corridor of stone and light, but also in your own quiet room. If you are wondering why it helps because you are allowed to be held without being solved. And if you are wondering how, the answer is simple. One slow breath and then another. Is your mind still running fast, or has it started to slow down a bit? If it is slowing, let it slow even more. If it is still fast, let it be fast without punishing it. Even a river in flood eventually returns to its banks. Now take a moment to look closely at Bashiri again. The linen is not only covering, it is a story of attention. Each layer suggests hours of care. Each crossing suggests hands that did not rush. Each seam suggests a decision to protect what is fragile, not to expose it for entertainment. And when you think about it, that kind of care is not ancient at all. It is what you do when you close the bedroom door gently so you do not wake someone you love. It is what you do when you fold a blanket over a sleeping child. It is what you do when you lower your voice in a quiet room because you can feel someone's tiredness in the air. Care is often quiet. In the world of YouTube and headlines, quiet care can feel invisible. But in a sleep story, quiet care becomes the main event because the nervous system recognizes it, because the heart recognizes it, because the body understands nothing is chasing me here. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. Now, let the story widen for a moment into a gentle reflection about remembrance. The Egyptians carved names into stone because they feared erasure. They believed the wren could keep a person from being lost. And we, in our modern lives, fear a different kind of erasure. Being forgotten in the rush, being reduced to a task, being valued only for output. If you have felt that kind of pressure, let this part of the story offer you a simple truth. You do not have to be productive to be worthy of rest. You do not have to prove you are tired. You do not have to earn sleep with perfection. Sleep is not a reward. Sleep is a return to your own body, a return to the quiet that existed before your first worry, a return to the simple rhythm of breath. And when you wake, you will still be you. You will not have vanished. You will not have been erased. You will have been preserved. In some temples, the ancients wrote protective words for the night journey. Tonight, let us write one for you, softly, without ink, only with attention. May you be kept. May you be remembered by kindness. May you be allowed to remain whole. If you are still holding tension, check your shoulders, let them drop. Check your hands, let the fingers loosen. Check your forehead, let the muscles smooth. And if you can, let your tongue rest in your mouth, as if even speech is asleep. Now, another gentle question, one that invites community without demanding energy. Where are you listening from tonight? You do not have to answer right away. You can answer later if you want. But even asking the question can remind you that this corner of the night is shared. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. Maybe the memory is small, a night drive with music low, a porch light in summer, the smell of clean sheets, the sound of rain on a window, the relief of finally being home. Those small memories are your own kind of wren. They keep you connected to yourself across time. Now imagine the museum guard again making a final round. Not with suspicion, but with gentleness. The keys are quiet. The footsteps are slow. At the glass case, the guard pauses, and the pause itself feels like respect. In that pause, the whole story seems to whisper its soft twist again. Sometimes the miracle is not what we open, sometimes the miracle is what we leave untouched. And if that is true, then tonight could be a miracle too. Not because something dramatic happens, but because you choose not to open the day again. You choose not to unwrap the past again. You choose not to tear at tomorrow again. You let the night remain sealed like a protective cocoon. And slowly, your thoughts begin to settle, the way dust settles in a beam of warm light. If you feel sleep approaching, let it approach without effort. Do not reach for it. Let it come to you, because sleep is like preservation. It works best when you do not force it. In the next part, we will drift toward the final gentle expansion, how quiet acts of goodness become a living name, and how the past can comfort you without asking for your attention. For now, stay in the corridor. Stay with the warm lamps. Stay with the linen geometry. Stay with the feeling that you are safe enough to stop. And if you cannot stop yet, that is okay too. Even resting in the attempt is still rest. Take one more breath in and out. The museum remains, the night remains, and you too remain whole, held, and allowed to sleep. Now the story becomes softer still. If you have been listening for a while, you may notice that the mind is less sharp around the edges. Thoughts feel farther away. The body feels heavier, warmer, more willing to be carried. That is exactly where we want to be. So let us move forward the way a candle flame leans when air changes, quietly, naturally, without strain. Imagine that we step out of the museum corridor for a moment, not into noise, but into a calm outdoor air. Perhaps it is still Egypt in the dream, perhaps it is simply night, wherever you are. The important thing is that the air feels open and the sky feels patient. Above us, the stars hold their places. And beneath us, human life continues. Small, ordinary, tender. This part is about something the ancient world understood, and the modern world sometimes forgets. A name is not only carved, a name is also lived. When the Egyptians spoke of Ren, the enduring name, they believed the written name could carry a person forward. But even then, there was another layer, the way a person's actions ripple into others, quietly, without needing a monument. In other words, a name stays warm, not only because it is remembered, but because it is associated with goodness. And goodness, in its truest form, is rarely loud. Think about the people you remember with warmth, not necessarily the most successful, not necessarily the most visible. Often, it is the person who did something small and kind at the right moment. Someone who spoke gently when you were overwhelmed. Someone who waited for you without making you feel late. Someone who cooked for you when you were too tired to think. Someone who forgave you when you could not forgive yourself. Those moments become a living name. They become a lantern. Tonight, if you feel the fear of being forgotten, let this part of the story offer you a gentler answer. You are already leaving a name behind you through the ways you soften the world, even if you do not see it, even if no one applauds it, even if it is as simple as choosing to be patient with someone who is struggling. Now let us bring Bashiri back again, not as an object behind glass, but as a quiet reminder of continuity. He lies wrapped in linen, preserved by careful hands. We do not know the full detail of his life. We do not know what his favorite meal was, or which jokes made him laugh, or whether he feared the dark as a child. But we can still feel something human about him, because the way he was wrapped suggests he was not treated as disposable. He was treated as someone who mattered. And that is the point. The ancient world, for all its distance, meets us in something simple, the desire to matter, to be held, to be remembered gently. If you are listening tonight and you feel you have become invisible in your own life, seen for what you do, not for who you are, let this story say something very quietly and very clearly. You matter even when you are still. You matter even when you are tired. You matter even when you do not explain yourself. Now, imagine the Nile again, not as geography, but as a metaphor that can soothe the mind. A river is not remembered because it performs. It is remembered because it continues, it holds, it returns. The Nile returns each season, and people built their lives around that faithfulness. In the same way, your quiet consistency may be the most healing thing you offer the world. The way you show up, the way you remain gentle, the way you keep going without hardening. That is a living Ren. And now the story offers a soft twist within the soft twist. Sometimes the past is not asking to be uncovered. It is asking to be honored, not with loud curiosity, with quiet gratitude. Imagine a person standing in the museum, maybe a curator, maybe a visitor, looking at Bashiri through glass. The visitor does not press their face against the case. They do not tap the glass. They simply stand at a respectful distance and let the stillness work on them. And in that stillness, the visitor realizes something. This mummy is not only preserved linen, it is preserved intention, it is preserved patience, it is preserved love in the form of restraint. And the visitor leaves the museum different, slower, softer, more aware of how fragile life is and how precious. That is what good history does. when it is told gently. It does not make you argue. It does not make you chase theories. It makes you more human. Now notice how your body feels as you listen. If your chest is still tight, imagine it loosening like a knot slowly untying. If your stomach feels tense, imagine it settling like sand after wind. If your thoughts feel sticky, imagine them thinning like fog when the first pale light of morning begins, still far away. This is a sleep story, so we do not need to conclude things sharply. We only need to widen the feeling of calm until it becomes the main atmosphere. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. Now I want to offer you a gentle exercise, not as instruction, but as an invitation. Think of one act of kindness you did recently. It can be tiny, a message you answered even when you were tired, a door you held, a small favor, a quiet apology, a moment when you chose patience over sharpness. If nothing comes to mind, that's okay. The mind is sleepy. It forgets. Let the question float and drift. But if something comes, let it land gently like a feather. Now imagine that act of kindness is a small hieroglyph carved into the wall of your life, not for glory, for continuity, for warmth, because someday someone may remember you not for a headline, but for that moment. And even if no one remembers consciously, the world changes subtly under the weight of kindness. It becomes softer, it becomes more livable, it becomes more like a place where people can sleep. And that is what you are building, whether you realize it or not. Now return again to Isis and Nephthys as a symbol of companionship in darkness. Two guardians, two quiet presences, not watching to judge, but watching to protect. If you are lonely tonight, let this image offer a small relief. You are not crossing the night alone. Even if you are the only one awake in your house, you are connected to a long line of humans who have watched the ceiling, listened to the wind, and waited for sleep to arrive. You are connected to the people of ancient Egypt who looked at the same stars, felt the same fatigue, and longed for peace. You are connected to everyone in this quiet corner of the internet, listening in bed, hoping to soften their thoughts. Where are you listening from tonight? If you ever feel like answering, leave a comment. Just a city, a state, a country, a small here. Even that is enough to turn loneliness into a shared night. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. Now the story begins to slow even more. The images become fewer, the sentences become softer, because we are moving toward that gentle space where words begin to dissolve and sleep takes over. But before we leave this part, I want to place one more thought into your hands, like a small, warm stone. Your life does not need to be fully understood to be meaningful. Bashiri is meaningful without being unwrapped. Abydos is meaningful even with missing names. The night sky is meaningful without explanation. And you, too, are meaningful without solving every detail. Sometimes the most healing thing is not to know more, but to feel safer. So if your mind tries to open another door tonight, another worry, another question, remember Bashiri, remember the linen cocoon, remember the decision to preserve, remember the gentle light that sees without breaking, and practice that same mercy with yourself. Leave the door closed, leave the worry wrapped, let the night remain intact. In the next part, we will begin to lower the story toward its final hush, returning to the museum one last time, letting the corridor lights dim, letting the Nile carry our last thoughts away, and offering you a final blessing of sleep. For now, breathe slowly, in and out, and let your living name, your quiet goodness, stay warm in the dark. Let us return once more to the museum after midnight, the way a dream returns to a familiar room when it wants to comfort you. The corridor is the same, and yet softer now, as if the air has learned your breathing. The lamps along the walls glow like small, warm moons, and their light falls in quiet pools on the stone floor. Nothing here is in a hurry. Even the shadows seem to move slowly, like a curtain settling after a gentle draft. If your eyes are open, you can let them rest. If they are closed, you can let the darkness behind your eyelids become the museum itself, calm, spacious, safe. Somewhere behind glass, Bashiri is still sleeping. He does not know your century. He does not know your deadlines, your phone, your calendar, your bright and constant world. And yet he offers you something more useful than information tonight. He offers you permission to be held, permission to be unfinished, permission to let the mind stop opening doors. In the modern day, we are taught to turn every silence into a task. If a thought appears, we chase it. If a feeling stirs, we analyze it. If an old memory taps the shoulder, we interrogate it like a witness. We open and open and open until the room of the mind feels crowded with bright lights and sharp questions. But here, in this corridor, the lights are dim on purpose. Here, the story is teaching the nervous system a simpler skill, to lower the volume, to soften the edges, to let something be safe without being solved. Imagine you stand at a respectful distance from the glass case. You do not lean in too close. You do not press your hands to the glass. You simply watch the way the linen lies layer over layer, like a slow snowfall of care. There is a kind of tenderness in restraint. There is a kind of love in not touching. And maybe, if you have lived long enough to know how fragile life can be, you can feel why the modern world chose to leave Bashiri intact, not out of fear, but out of gentleness. Tonight, that gentleness can become your own practice. If a worry rises, you can let it rise without chasing it. If a thought circles, you can let it circle without trapping it. If a memory appears, you can acknowledge it the way you would acknowledge a distant star. I see you, and then let it remain where it is. Because not every thought needs a response at midnight. Some thoughts are simply passing weather, and you are allowed to be the sky. Now, the museum corridor begins to widen in your imagination, as if it stretches beyond its walls into the landscapes we have visited. The Valley of the Kings, Abydos, the Nile at night, the quiet courtyard where a shadow measures time. These places are not separate, really. They are all versions of the same calm principle. The world can move slowly, and you can move slowly with it. A wind passes through the idea of the desert. Not a harsh wind, not a loud wind, just a moving breath that rearranges the surface of sand grain by grain. The desert does not fight the wind. It yields, it reshapes, it settles again, and you too can settle again. If you are listening tonight as someone who carries responsibilities, family, work, a tired body, a busy mind, then the story is for you. It is for the person who has done enough for one day. It is for the person whose mind has been running fast. It is for the person who wants to feel a little less alone in the dark. Who is this night for you? What is this journey? A gentle walk through history that becomes a lullaby. When is it happening? Right before sleep, when the heart is most honest. Where are we? Between a museum corridor and your own quiet room. Why does it help? Because being held is older than worry. How does it work? Slowly, one image, one breath, one soft step at a time. And now let the corridor offer you a small sensory lullaby. Sand, stone, linen, and light, returning in a quiet loop. Imagine the floor beneath you, stone that has cooled into steadiness. It holds your weight without complaint, the way a bed holds you when you finally surrender to it. Imagine the air, a faint, dry hush, like pages resting in a closed book. Imagine the linen again, not as a puzzle, but as a texture, soft where it folds, slightly rough where it overlaps, patiently wrapped the way a careful person wraps a fragile gift. Notice a speck of dust drifting through lamplight and the quiet warmth of amber glow on stone. The light is never harsh. It gives just enough to see, never enough to disturb. It feels like a promise that nothing will be demanded of you in this corridor. If you want, place one hand lightly on your chest or on the blanket and feel the rise and fall of your breathing. Let your breath be your gentle lantern now. On each exhale, let your thoughts sink a little lower as if they are settling onto the museum floor. On each inhale, let the chest rise without effort, like a slow tide returning. If your mind wants one more point of certainty, let it be this: Bashiri can be known without being unwrapped. Modern light can look without breaking. You can understand yourself without tearing yourself open. A gentle glance is sometimes wiser than a harsh stare. A soft question is sometimes better than a hard answer. Now let the story touch the idea of Ren again, the enduring name, without making you think too hard. Just let it float. The ancients believed that a name could keep you from being lost. They carved names into stone because they wanted the world to remember. But the truest remembrance, the warmest kind, is not always carved. Sometimes it is carried in the way you made someone feel. A gentle word when the day was sharp. A patient pause instead of a quick judgment. A hand on a shoulder. A text message that said, I'm here, when someone needed it. These are quiet hieroglyphs written not on temple walls, but in the soft places of other people's lives. And if you do not feel like you have done enough, remember this: you do not need to be perfect to be meaningful. Bashiri's mystery is meaningful without being unwrapped. A missing name is meaningful without being filled. A night sky is meaningful without being explained. Your life, too, can be meaningful without constant proof. Now the corridor lights begin to dim a little more. It is not a dramatic change. It is the kind of change you barely notice until you realize your body has become heavier. The lamps still glow, but the glow is softer, rounder, more distant, like a house seen from far away when you are finally driving home. In the quiet, you can almost hear a river. Not because the Nile is physically here, but because the mind remembers its rhythm. Water moving without effort. Water accepting the shape of its banks. Water carrying reflections and letting them go. If your thoughts feel stuck, imagine them as reflections on that river, a face, a light, a moving shadow. The river does not hold any reflection forever. It carries it for a moment, and then the surface changes and the reflection becomes something else, in and out. The breath is your river. It carries sensations, thoughts, small waves of emotion, and then it carries them away. You do not have to do anything extra. You only have to allow the next breath. Now imagine a small boat on the Nile at night. Someone sits in the boat wrapped in cloth. The air is cool, the stars are steady, the oar dips quietly, making a sound so small it feels like a secret. The boat glides, not because it is trying hard, but because the water is willing to carry it. Let yourself be carried like that. Let the mattress hold you. Let gravity do its work. Let the muscles loosen as if they trust the night. And if you are awake because you have been strong for too long, let this story be a small place where you do not need to be strong. You can be soft. You can be quiet. You can be a human being returning to the simplest thing: rest. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. If you ever feel like sharing, you can tell us where you are listening from, not because you owe anyone a comment, but because a shared night is warmer than a solitary one. But you do not have to do anything right now. Right now, you can let the mind become less interested in action. You can let the body become more interested in stillness. Now the story brings you back to Bashiri one last time in this part. Behind glass, he remains wrapped. The linen is a closed door that is also a promise. The promise is not, you must know. The promise is, you are allowed to pause. You are allowed to leave something sealed. You are allowed to not answer every question. You are allowed to let tomorrow be tomorrow. And if the mind tries to open another door, another worry, another plan, imagine the museum guard gently turning off one more lamp and another, until only the smallest glow remains. Not darkness as danger, darkness as kindness, a soft curtain drawn across the day. As you breathe out, let the corridor fade. As you breathe in, let the quiet stay. And in the last gentle seconds of this part, let one sentence settle into you like warm sand settling after wind. You do not disappear when you rest. You are simply placed back where you belong, inside peace. The corridor has grown so dim now that the museum feels less like a building and more like a feeling. A hush that wraps around you, a warm shadow that does not ask questions. A slow, gentle space where the mind can stop performing. If you are still awake, that is okay. If you are already drifting, that is okay too. Tonight is not a test you pass. Tonight is a tide you allow. Somewhere behind glass, Bashiri remains unchanged, still wrapped, still protected, still resting inside the choice that modern hands made to preserve. And as you linger in that softened corridor, you may notice something tender happening inside you. The urge to figure it out begins to loosen. The urge to open every thought begins to fade. The body begins to trust that darkness can be kind. This is the moment when the story's images become fewer but deeper. So let us bring back the simplest guardians of this night, two quiet presences that have been walking beside us in the background, like gentle lamps at the edge of a room. Isis and Nephthys. Somewhere in your own room, the same principle is already at work. The lights are lower than they were earlier. The phone is farther away, or at least quieter. The body has found a position that feels almost right. Maybe on your back, maybe on your side, maybe with one knee slightly bent, the way the body chooses comfort without asking permission. Outside your window, there might be a street lamp staining the curtains with a faint amber glow. Or there might be a hallway light under the door, thin as a ribbon. Or there might be complete darkness. And in that darkness, you can notice how little you need right now. Not a perfect plan, not a perfect answer, only a softer nervous system. If you are the kind of person who spends the day solving problems, emails, meetings, decisions, emergencies that arrive dressed as urgent, then your mind may still be holding its tools. It may still be trying to fix. It may still be trying to prepare. So let this story do something simple for you. Let it take the tools out of your hands for a while. You can put them down. You can rest your mind the way you rest your eyes. The world will not fall apart in the next few minutes. In the museum, there is a similar moment every night. A guard walks slowly through the galleries, checking doors, listening for anything out of place, then turning off lights one by one. The sound of each switch is small, almost nothing. But with each dimming, the building becomes more like a cradle for sleeping history. Glass cases stop shining, stone walls stop reflecting, even the air seems to settle. And the guard, without any ceremony, performs a quiet kindness. He lets the past remain undisturbed. He leaves the linen wrapped. He leaves the names on the walls unasked to speak. He leaves the mystery intact, as if saying, "You may keep your silence." Tonight, you can give yourself that same kindness. You can be your own gentle guard. You can walk through the rooms of your mind and dim the lights, not with force, with patience. You do not need to believe in them as literal beings to let them comfort you. You only need to let them be symbols, soft shapes the nervous system can hold on to when it is tired. In ancient depictions, they stand near the sleeping body of Osiris, one at the head, one at the feet. Not to frighten, not to demand, only to keep the passage gentle. Tonight, let them take their places around you. Imagine Isis near your head, where thoughts are loudest. She is quiet, patient, steady. She does not argue with your mind. She does not chase your thoughts away. She simply rests a presence there, as if to say, you are allowed to stop guarding the doorway. And imagine Nephthys near your feet, where the day's tension often hides, the tired ankles, the restless calves. The legs that carried you through errands and obligations and invisible weight. Nephthys does not ask you to stand again. She reminds your legs that they can be heavy, that they can sink, that they can be done for the night. Between these two quiet hands, you are held, not squeezed, not controlled, held the way linen holds a fragile form, firm enough to protect, gentle enough to soothe. If your mind is still running fast, let me ask you softly, is your mind running fast today? Or has it started to slow down a bit? Whatever your answer is, let it be true without judgment. A fast mind is not a broken mind. It is often just a mind that has loved too much, cared too much, carried too much. And if you have carried too much, you deserve an hour when no one asks you to carry at all. Now, let the museum fade into a different scene, not far away, just quieter. Imagine a small room in ancient Egypt late at night. A lamp burns low. A family has finished the day. Outside, the desert wind moves like a long exhale. Inside, someone sits close to a sleeping child and smooths linen over the child's shoulder. No speeches, no dramatic music, just a hand moving slowly, making sure the cloth is not scratchy, making sure the corner is tucked, making sure the small body feels safe. This is what preservation looks like when it is human. And it is not so different from what you may have done in your own life, tucking a blanket over someone, lowering your voice, shutting a door gently, turning off a bright light so another person can rest. Quiet care is ancient. Quiet care is real. Quiet care is the strongest kind. If tonight you feel unseen, remember this. Even unseen care changes the world. Now bring your attention to your own body again. Where is the tightest place? Maybe it is the forehead, maybe the throat, maybe the chest, maybe the stomach. Do not fight it, do not pry it open. Treat it the way we treated Bashiri, with gentle light, with respect for boundaries. On your next inhale, imagine warmth arriving there, like a small lantern being set down nearby. On your exhale, imagine the tightness loosening by one small degree, just enough to say, I don't have to hold this so hard tonight. This is how nights heal, not with big victories, with tiny permissions. Now the story offers you a small, soft reflection about names. The ancients carved names into stone because they feared. They believed that the Ren, the enduring name, kept a person from being lost. But what they also understood, quietly, is that a name is not only something you receive, it is also something you give away in the form of what you leave behind in others. A calmer room after you enter, a softer conversation because you chose patience, a moment of relief someone felt because you listened, a kindness that asked for nothing in return. These are the living inscriptions of your life. And the beautiful thing is, you do not have to be extraordinary to leave them. You only have to be human. If your life has felt ordinary lately, let that be comforting. Ordinary is where most tenderness lives. Ordinary is where most healing happens. Ordinary is where sleep returns. Now imagine the Nile again, but from farther away, like a ribbon of darkness under moonlight. The river does not advertise itself. It does not defend itself. It simply continues, and that continuation nourishes fields, feeds people, carries boats, reflects stars. You too can continue in quiet ways. You do not have to carry the whole world. You only have to carry this breath. And then the next. Who is this story for? For the person who needs permission to stop. What is this story doing? Turning history into a gentle place to rest. When is it happening? Right now, in the last tender minutes before sleep. Where are we? Between a museum corridor and your own quiet room. Why does it matter? Because softness is a form of safety. How does it work? By slowing everything down until the heart remembers peace. And now, let us return one last time very softly to Bashiri. Behind the glass, the linen remains like a closed flower at night. It does not open for our curiosity. It does not perform for our questions. It simply rests, and in that rest, it teaches. Sometimes the kindest thing is not to touch. Sometimes the wisest thing is to step back. Sometimes the bravest thing is to let something remain unknown. If you have been demanding certainty from yourself, let that demand rest now. If you have been demanding closure, let closure sleep. If you have been demanding perfection, let perfection stay outside the door. Tonight, you are allowed to be incomplete. Tonight, you are allowed to be held. Tonight, you are allowed to drift. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. If you ever feel like sharing, where are you listening from tonight? Not because you owe an answer, only because naming your place can make the night feel less solitary. But you can also remain silent. Silence is welcome here. Now the lamps in the corridor dim again. Not all at once. One, and then another, and then another, until the museum becomes mostly shadow. And in that shadow, Isis and Nephthys remain, one near your head, one near your feet, two quiet hands holding the corners of your sleep. If you are ready, let your breath become slower. Let your jaw loosen. Let your tongue rest. Let your shoulders melt. And if sleep comes, let it come without effort. You have already done enough for tonight. In the next part, we will let the story thin out even more. Fewer facts, fewer images, more spacious calm until the final outro feels like a soft door closing on the day. Now the story thins out, the way a fog thins when it realizes it is safe to fade. You have already walked through the museum corridor, through desert air and temple stone, through the slow shadow of an ancient courtyard. You have already stood beside Bashiri's untouched sleep and felt the quiet wisdom of leaving things whole. So tonight, we do not need to travel far anymore. We only need to settle. Imagine the museum again, but farther away now, as if it is becoming a small, warm dot in the distance. The corridor lights are dim. The glass case is only a suggestion. Bashiri rests, wrapped and undisturbed, like a closed flower in a cool room. Nothing changes, nothing needs to. And here, in your own room, the same principle is taking over. The bed holds you. The air holds you. The night holds you. If you are listening with your eyes closed, notice how darkness is not a wall, but a soft fabric. It drapes around the mind and lets the mind stop looking. If you are listening with your eyes open, let them blink slowly, the way a sleepy cat blinks, unhurried and trusting. There is a moment in every night when the body begins to recognize itself again, not as a worker, not as a problem solver, not as a person on a schedule, but as a living creature designed for cycles. Wake and sleep, tension and release, light and dark, breath in and breath out. Tonight, let the breath become the only timeline you follow. In and out, in and out. You do not have to make it deeper. You do not have to make it perfect. You can let it be natural the way a river is natural. And as you let it be natural, you may notice it becoming slower on its own, like a horse settling when it realizes it has reached a safe stable. If your mind is still running fast, that is okay. A fast mind is often a loyal mind. It is a mind that tried to protect you. It watched for danger. It planned for tomorrow. It replayed old moments to see what could have been different. It reached for control when life felt uncertain. Tonight, you can thank it without following it. You can say gently, without words, "Thank you for trying." You can rest now. Imagine placing a small lantern beside your thoughts, not to interrogate them, not to open them, only to let them know they are seen. A lantern does not chase shadows, it simply glows, and in that glow, the shadows soften. If you are carrying a particular worry tonight, picture it as a folded note. You do not need to read it again. You have read it many times. Tonight, you place it in a linen pouch, tie a simple knot, and set it on a shelf. The shelf is inside the museum of your mind where everything fragile is protected. The pouch will still be there tomorrow, but tonight it is not required to speak. This is the kindness of leaving things sealed. Now let us return to the simplest textures of our journey: sand, stone, linen, and light. But in an even gentler way, almost like a lullaby without plot. Sand, imagine it settling. Grain by grain, it finds its resting place. It does not argue with gravity. It accepts the shape of the earth beneath it, and in that acceptance it becomes calm. Stone, imagine its cool steadiness. Stone does not ask you to hurry. Stone has never rushed for anyone. It is patient in a way that can teach the nervous system to be patient too. Linen, imagine its soft layers. Linen is the texture of care. It is the texture of wrapping, of tucking, of protecting. It is the texture of being held without being squeezed. Light, imagine it dimming, not into emptiness, but into warmth. A small light is often kinder than a bright one. A small light says, you can see enough, and you do not need to see more. In this softened loop, the mind begins to lose interest in sharp edges. It stops trying to map the whole world. It becomes willing to be small again. And that is not a failure, that is rest. Now imagine the Nile at night, but do not picture details too clearly. Let it be an idea, a dark ribbon moving through a sleeping landscape. The river carries reflections and releases them. It does not cling. It does not keep everything. It holds for a moment, and then it lets go. Your breath can be like that river. It carries a thought, then releases it. It carries a sensation, then releases it. It carries an emotion, then releases it. In and out. If you notice a sound in your room, a distant car, a neighbor's footsteps, the soft click of a building cooling, let it be part of the river too. Sounds arrive and sounds pass. You do not have to chase them. You can let them float by. Now the story offers you a quiet companionship again. Isis at the head, Nephthys at the feet. Not as mythology, you must believe, but as an image of safety. An image that says, you are watched over, not judged. You are guarded, not examined. You are allowed to relax without needing to defend yourself. If loneliness has been near you lately, let that image help. Two quiet hands holding the corners of your sleep, the way a careful person holds the corners of linen. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. And now, let us do something very small. Let us stop adding new information. Let us stop collecting new facts. Let us simply repeat softly the truths that have already settled into the night. You are allowed to be unfinished. You are allowed to be quiet. You are allowed to not solve everything before you sleep. You are allowed to leave some doors closed. You are allowed to let the past remain intact and to let your own heart remain intact too. If you want, whisper this to yourself in your own inner voice. Not now. Tomorrow is enough. Feel how the body responds when it hears permission. Often the body exhales. Often the jaw loosens. Often the shoulders drop as if someone has finally removed a heavy coat. Now imagine the museum guard again, turning off the last few lamps. The corridor becomes mostly shadow, but the shadow is gentle. It is the kind of shadow that feels like a blanket. The guard pauses once, not because there is danger, but because there is respect. He looks at Bashiri's case and he does not think reveal. He thinks preserve, he thinks rest. And then he walks away quietly, leaving the sleeping history to its sleeping. In your own room, you can do the same. Walk away from your thoughts, not by force, but by drifting. Let attention slide off the edges of problems. Let it return to breath. Let it return to weight. Let it return to the simple fact of being held by the bed, in and out, in and out. And if sleep is not here yet, you can still rest in the waiting. Waiting can be soft. Waiting can be a kind of surrender. You are not failing at sleep. You are simply arriving slowly. Now the story becomes almost like a lullaby, hummed without words. Fewer images, more space. The mind does not have to work. A dim lamp, a cool stone, a folded linen, a slow river, a steady star, a gentle breath, and you, drifting, as if you are a small boat being carried by a calm current, with nothing to prove and nowhere you must go tonight. If you want a small place to rest your attention, you can choose one simple sensation and stay with it for a few breaths. The weight of the blanket on your legs, the coolness of air near your nose, the warmth where your body meets the bed, the quiet pulse in your wrist. You do not need to search for a perfect sensation. How any gentle detail is enough. Sometimes the mind believes it must keep watch, as if sleep is dangerous, but sleep is older than fear. Sleep is the way the body repairs itself. Sleep is the way the heart releases what it could not carry forever. If a thought returns again and again, you can treat it with the same respect we gave Bashiri. You can look at it from a distance, acknowledge it, and then let it remain wrapped. You do not have to unwrap it to honor it. You do not have to open it to be kind to yourself. And if you feel a small ache of being forgotten, remember the gentle truth of Ren. A living name does not need to be shouted. It can be carried by quiet goodness, by steadiness, by the way you have shown up even when you were tired. Even now, choosing to rest is a form of goodness. It protects you. It preserves you. It keeps you whole for the morning. You can be only breath and weight and softness. You can let the day fold itself away like a letter placed back into an envelope. If you ever want to share, where are you listening from tonight? A city, a state, a country, or just the word here? Not because you owe anyone a comment, but because naming a place can feel like lighting a tiny candle in a shared dark. And if you do not want to share, that silence is welcome too. Now, let the sentences slow. Let the spaces between them widen. Let the next breath arrive without effort. In and out. In and out. And as the story continues toward its final hush, you can begin to feel that you are already doing it. You are already letting go. You are already being carried. Nothing dramatic is required, only this, a gentle willingness to be held. Now we arrive at the last gentle stretch of the night. If you are still awake, you do not need to force yourself into sleep. If you are drifting, you do not need to hold on to the words. Let them become softer, farther away, like a voice in another room that you trust. The museum after midnight is almost entirely dark now. The corridor lights have dimmed to the faintest glow, and even that glow feels sleepy, like a candle that has decided it can rest too. The glass cases are no longer bright. The stone walls do not shine. Everything has returned to the kind of stillness it was made for. Somewhere, Bashiri remains wrapped, still untouched, still preserved, still resting inside the tenderness of restraint. And tonight, you have learned that same tenderness, not as an idea to remember, as a feeling your body can practice. You have practiced leaving things sealed. You have practiced seeing without breaking. You have practiced letting the night be kind. If your mind tries to open one more door, one more thought, one more worry, one more unfinished loop, imagine a quiet hand gently closing it. Not with force, with care, a soft click, a calm finality. Not forever, just for tonight. In the ancient world, people trusted cycles. The Nile would return, the sun would rise, the stars would keep their places. They did not need to hold everything in their hands at once. They could release into rhythm. Tonight you can release into rhythm too. Breath in and breath out. Let your inhale be small if it wants to be. Let your exhale be long if it wants to be. Or let both be natural. You do not need to control the breath. You only need to allow it. Feel the bed under you. The mattress is not asking you questions. The pillow is not demanding answers. The blanket is not judging your day. They simply hold you, and you can let yourself be held. If you notice tension anywhere, you can treat it gently, like linen, like sand, like a fragile artifact that deserves kindness. Forehead, soften jaw, loosen shoulders, melt, hands, unclench, stomach, settle, legs, grow heavy, feet, relax. And if you cannot find every place, that is okay. The night will find them for you. Now imagine the Nile one last time, a dark river under stars, a small boat gliding without effort. The water is carrying it, not because the boat is trying hard, because the river is faithful. Let your sleep be like that. Let it carry you. If thoughts appear, let them appear like reflections on the river, brief, passing, and not required to stay. The river does not cling to reflections. It holds them for a moment, then releases them. In and out. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. And now the lantern can dim. And not because we are leaving you, but because the goal has been reached. Quiet, safety, a softer mind, a resting body. Before we end, I will offer you the last gentle community touch, only if you are still awake enough to hear it. If this story brought you calm, leave a gentle comment for yourself. It can be as simple as, "I'm here," or "I made it through today," or "Good night." And don't forget to subscribe for more peaceful nighttime journeys, but you do not need to do anything right now. You can do it tomorrow. Tonight is for sleeping. Now, imagine Isis and Nephthys again. Two quiet presences, one near your head and one near your feet, holding the corners of your night like linen held at the edges. You are safe. You are not being examined. You are not being rushed. You are simply being allowed to rest. The museum is dark, the desert is quiet, the river moves, the stars remain, and you are drifting. Breath by breath, heavier, softer, slower. And if sleep takes you in the middle of a sentence, that is perfect, because the story was never meant to be finished. It was meant to be a warm path into the dark, a path that ends not with applause, but with peace.